On the day of the Sterling family banquet, my husband, Jacob, brought his canary, his mistress, home with him. The mocking gazes of the relatives instantly fell upon me. His cousin asked with a sneer, "Jacob, you brought a girl home. Won't your wife get jealous?" Jacob smiled nonchalantly. "Elena has a good temper. She won't hold it against me." It wasn't that I wouldn't hold it against him. It was that he was certain I couldn't leave him. And he was right. What right did an orphan adopted by the Sterling family have to argue with the newly appointed CEO of the Sterling Group? Looking at the girl's face, I knew exactly why Jacob had insisted on bringing her home. She looked too much like his dead first love. Suddenly, I felt an overwhelming exhaustion with this life. I shoved the antique vase beside me. It shattered across the floor. Everyone looked at me in shock. "Jacob, for this meal, it's either her or me." Hearing this, Jacob simply spared me a glance before speaking in that same indifferent tone. "She's just here for a meal. Rest assured, the position of Mrs. Sterling is still yours." With red-rimmed eyes, I looked at Jacob firmly. "I am serious." Perhaps because this was the first time I had ever defied him, Jacob seemed momentarily stunned. At that moment, the woman he brought home feigned pity. "Mrs. Sterling, I begged Jacob to bring me. If it makes you unhappy, I'll leave right now." I didn't answer her. I just stared stubbornly at Jacob. "Enough. Your temper is getting worse by the day. Eat if you want, or get out." Jacob motioned for the woman to sit in the seat I usually occupied. I laughed at myself. His meaning was clear enough. I took off the heirloom jade bracelet, the one his mother had given me at our wedding, and placed it in front of Jacob. "I'm returning this to you." Jacob raised an eyebrow. "Elena, what is the meaning of this?" I stared at him and enunciated every word. "I am done being Mrs. Sterling." Jacob scoffed. "You're an orphan. If you leave me, if you leave the Sterling family, where can you possibly go? Stop making a scene. It's embarrassing. Sit down." The relatives present began to offer fake words of advice, telling me to quit while I was ahead. I didn't listen. I grabbed my phone and walked toward the door. As I opened it, Jacob's cold voice came from behind me. "Elena, if you dare walk out that door today, the title of Mrs. Sterling will go to someone else. Don't think about ever coming back." I paused for a second, then left that house, a place that was never truly a home, without looking back. I was an orphan adopted by the Sterling family. My grandmother was friends with Jacob's grandmother. When she passed away, she entrusted me to the Sterling matriarch. Outsiders envied me for growing up in the Sterling household and eventually marrying Jacob to become Mrs. Sterling. But only those inside knew the bitterness of it. I was a wife ignored by everyone. A wife whose husband's heart belonged to another. A wife in name only. When we married, Jacob said he could only give me a ceremony. The name on his marriage license could only ever be Isabella. Isabella, Jacob's first love. The one who got away. She died of cancer 7 years ago. So, no one expected that the bride and groom of the multi-million-dollar wedding of the century had never actually legally registered their marriage. But what could I do? From the moment he saved me from the swimming pool, I had loved him. Back then, I naively thought I could one day melt his icy heart. I forgot one thing. The living can never compete with the dead. After escaping the Sterling mansion, I wandered aimlessly down the street. Jacob's words, "If you leave the Sterling family, where can you go?" were my reality. Eventually, I sat in the corner of a quiet lounge bar, back at the Sterling house. The phrase I heard most often was, "Madam, you cannot do that," because my identity represented the Sterlings. It represented Jacob. My past 25 years had revolved around that family, around Jacob. Yet, in the end, I was just a hollow figurehead, listening to the singer on stage croon a love song. I poured glass after glass of alcohol into my mouth. Before I blacked out, I heard a gentle voice ask, "Miss, are you okay?" I opened my mouth, but lost consciousness before I could speak. When I woke up, I instinctively rubbed my temples. The headache made it hard to focus on where I was. "You're awake." A pleasant voice came from the doorway. I looked up. It was the singer from the bar last night. I looked at her apologetically. "I'm sorry. I caused you trouble last night." She flashed a bright smile. "It's okay. Meeting is a form of destiny." "I'm Mia. And you?" I stared blankly at the radiant smile on her face and answered automatically. "Elena." Elena. I made porridge. Go wash up and come eat. I didn't react immediately. Mia pulled me out of bed and pushed me toward the bathroom. The toothbrush and towel are new. Hurry, hurry. I'm starving. She blinked her eyes at me, looking as if she'd brush my teeth for me if I didn't move. I washed up in a daze and was pushed into a chair at the table. Elena. Eat. After we eat. We're going hiking. Seeing the youthful energy radiating from her, I suddenly remembered that I was only 25. 2. In the Sterling house. I had to be calm, to look like a proper matriarch, so I had seemed old beyond my years. I want to be friends with her. For the first time, I felt such a strong impulse. I hesitated, then asked carefully, Mia, can I stay here for a while? I'll pay rent. Mia agreed without a second thought. Aren't you afraid I'm a bad person? She waved her hand. I'm a good judge of character. I didn't ask anything else and buried my head in my breakfast. After eating, Mia dragged me up a mountain. On the way, we talked about ourselves, the future, and the past, as if we had known each other for years. Mia's past was far more colorful than mine. She had traveled to many places alone. In each place, she would rent a room for a while, find a bar to sing in, and leave when she got bored. Meanwhile, I had been trapped in the Sterling house for 10 years. When we stood at the peak, Mia suddenly said to me, actually, love doesn't depend on promises or the future. The way it ends doesn't erase the beautiful moments that already happened. I smiled bitterly. Between Jacob and me, it was just my unrequited wishful thinking. She linked her arm through mine. Elena, you have too many shackles on you. You need to break them. Explore yourself. Define yourself. Choose yourself. That is what it means to be truly human. If you want others to love you, you must love yourself first. With that, she took her camera and ran off to take pictures. I stood there watching her run around, her words replaying in my mind. After so many years in the Sterling family, my edges had been smoothed away. I had lost the right to be willful. Leaving Jacob was the first decision I had made for myself in years. But I felt like duckweed floating on water, homeless. I had never thought about how to walk the path ahead. I had escaped on sheer courage alone. But I was only 25. Even if I admitted I had been swallowed by darkness, I wanted to live as light. Mia came back from taking photos and pulled me down to sit on the ground and watch the sky. She pointed out clouds, saying this one looked like something. That one looked pretty. At the Sterling house, I was always told what to do or what I should do. Such a carefree life was something I hadn't dared to imagine. Mia and I sat on the ground, watching the clouds shift shapes, talking about nothing and everything. In my heart, I made a decision. I wanted to step out bravely. Since I had left my comfort zone, I would live a life that belonged to me. Mia, I want to go out and see the world. Mia happily threw her arm around my shoulders. Let's go together. I say we start a travel vlog. We can record as we go and even make money. I can take photos. And you're beautiful. Well, definitely go viral. Listening to her talk about the future with such confidence, I felt a spark of anticipation. I was a literature major. I can write the copy. I can learn whatever I don't know. Mia clapped excitedly. Perfect. We're a match made in heaven. I laughed at her phrasing. Mia was a woman of action. The moment we finished talking, she dragged me back down the mountain, saying we should start immediately. I helplessly told her I hadn't brought anything with me. I needed to replace my ID and documents, so we had to stay put for a while. On the way down, I pulled the SIM card out of my phone and tossed it onto the path. Sterling family. Jacob, goodbye. While waiting for my documents, I signed up for online video editing courses. Mia still went to the bar to sing every night. During the day, she pestered me to cook all kinds of food for her. And then we would plan our first destination. The first time I cooked a meal for her, she ate and cursed at the same time. That scumbag who hurt you is an idiot. Where else would he find a girlfriend who is beautiful and can cook like this? If I were a man, I'd marry you and hide you away. Since leaving the Sterling house, my days had been full. Jacob never looked for me. One day, I saw his interview on TV. A reporter asked him about the recent rumors of marital discord. He denied them with a straight face. When the reporter tried to ask more, his assistant announced the end of the interview. So, rumors spread that I had been completely given the cold shoulder by Jacob. Exactly 1 month after leaving, Mia and I embarked on a journey to the mountains. On our second day, we climbed a high-altitude peak in the Himalayas. The moment we reached the summit, I felt altitude sickness like never before. It felt as though an invisible hand was strangling my throat, making it hard to breathe. The beautiful scenery blurred before my eyes, and ringing filled my ears, making it impossible to focus. I almost thought I would stay on that mountain forever. But not far away was the sunshine on the golden mountain, the alpenglow representing hope. On that land filled with hope, my tears flowed uncontrollably. The guide scrambled to give me oxygen. Mia hugged me tight, soothing me. "Elena, don't cry. Your oxygen levels are coming up. You won't die. Don't be scared." I shook my head, trying to say I wasn't crying out of fear. With everyone's help, I stood up on that snowy peak, looked at the golden mountain in the distance, and embraced my future. This stop represented courage. It represented my rebirth. After returning from the trip, we edited the footage, added voiceovers, and posted it online. Unexpectedly, it went viral. Many viewers commented that they saw hope and new beginnings in the video. That was exactly how I felt. During our travels, I started painting again. Grandmother Sterling was a painter. Under her influence, I had fallen in love with painting as a child. But after getting together with Jacob, he forbade me from painting. The reason was simple. Isabella was a painter. Back then, I thought it was because my painting would make Jacob sad by reminding him of her. But later, I accidentally heard him say, "When Elena paints, it reminds me of Isabella." Elena doesn't deserve to be mentioned in the same breath as her. Isabella had passed away, yet Jacob used every method to remind me of her existence. The house always used the incense Isabella liked, the tableware she preferred. The garden was planted with the jasmine she loved. On the second floor, next to Jacob's room, was a locked room. Someone cleaned it every week. Jacob spent half his time in there every month. The year after Isabella died, Grandmother Sterling ordered everything in that room to be cleared out. When Jacob found out, he flew into a rage. "If this room goes, I won't come back to this house either." In the end, Jacob personally went to the dump to retrieve everything and put it back, item by item. From then on, that room became forbidden territory in the Sterling house, and Isabella became a taboo subject. The day before we left for our next trip, a notification popped up on my phone. Sterling Group CEO suspected of having a new love interest. I couldn't help but click on it. Looking at the photos taken by the paparazzi, I felt nothing but irony. Did Jacob really love Isabella that much? Even a stand-in who looked like her was cherished so dearly. In the photos, Jacob lowered his head, letting the woman fix his hair. When she got out of the car, he thoughtfully protected her head with his hand. While eating, he proactively served her food and peeled shrimp for her. Although I had only ever loved Jacob, I knew that true love is irreplaceable. There is no such thing as a substitute. If I were still in that house, I would likely be alone, waiting for a husband who wouldn't come home. But now I was busy improving myself, busy filming, busy editing, busy seeing the world with Mia. I realized that the number of times I thought of Jacob each day was now almost zero. Jacob's perspective. Elena was being stubborn this time. She returned the family heirloom and hadn't been back for a month. The day after the banquet, the butler had called him in a panic, saying the madam hadn't returned. When he went home, he saw that all of Elena's documents were there, and she hadn't taken a single piece of clothing. Jacob was certain she would be back soon. She had no family. He was the only person Elena could rely on. He knew she was just using this tactic to make him chase away the woman who looked like Isabella. She had always been jealous of Isabella's memory. But so what? Once she suffered enough outside, she would remember how good she had it at the Sterling house and come crawling back. When she returned, he would make her learn some discipline. A grown woman running away from home was embarrassing for the family. But Jacob didn't expect to wait a whole month. He had to admit that the person he thought he could control at will had somehow grown a spine. He didn't marry her legally. She endured it. He put Isabella's favorite things in front of her. She endured it. Jacob thought she would endure it for a lifetime. But when he brought home a woman who looked like Isabella, Elena didn't just get angry, she ran. For the first time, Jacob took out his phone and dialed the number he never used to call. "The number you have dialed is out of service." He realized that other than this number, He didn't know who to contact to find her. She had no family and barely 2 friends. He felt that even if she died, she wouldn't truly leave him or the Sterling family. She had been angry long enough. It was time to come back. After hearing out of service for the 10th time, his patience finally ran out. He looked up at his assistant. Find out where my wife is. If something happens to her, I'm worried grandma will haunt me in my dreams. I saw Jacob again the day after Mia and I returned from the mountains. We were editing the final video of our trip when there was a knock at the door. As soon as it opened, several bodyguards rushed in. Mia asked confusedly, "Who are you looking for?" The bodyguard's gaze landed on me, holding my tablet in the back. "Madam, Mr. Sterling has asked us to bring you back." I hadn't heard that title in over a month. It felt strange now. Mia turned to look at me. "You're the wife of a rich family. Are these people sent by your blind husband? Are you going through a divorce lawsuit? How much property do you get?" I was amused and exasperated by MIA's rapid-fire questions. Jacob was known in business circles as a man with a sharp eye. The projects he chose always made money. This was the first time I'd heard someone call him blind. "We didn't get a marriage license. Just had a ceremony." Mia clicked her tongue. "Definitely a scumbag." I looked at the bodyguards and said calmly, "Go back and tell Jacob that I want return to the Sterling house. Don't look for me again." The bodyguards looked at each other. The leader took out his phone and called Jacob. "Mr. Sterling, Madam refuses to return." Jacob arrived faster than I imagined. In less than 10 minutes, he appeared at my door. His face, however, was grim. The bodyguards stepped aside, and Jacob walked up to me. "Elena, you've grown bold. Running away is one thing, but not coming home for so long. Don't forget, you are still Mrs. Sterling. Come back with me." I chuckled softly and reminded him, "Jacob, we never registered. There is no Mrs. Sterling." Hearing this, Jacob's lips curled into a sarcastic smile. "Elena, isn't this all because you want to register the marriage? But I told you before, the only name on my household register will be Isabella. You married me willingly." Regretting it now, it was the first time I realized Jacob had such low emotional intelligence. Which part of my sentence sounded like "I wanted to marry you"? "I just want you to stop bothering me. I'm living happily now, and I won't go back," Jacob faltered, unable to believe what I was saying was true. After a moment of silence, he spoke as if compromising. "Elena, you win. Come back now, and I'll register the marriage with you. I'll overlook your running away." He reached out a hand toward me. In the past, whenever he reached out, I would rush to hold his hand tightly. But this time, I just looked at him quietly. "Jacob, isn't it better that I leave? You don't like me anyway. With me gone, you can bring home whoever you want without worrying about anything." Jacob laughed in anger. "Elena, don't play hard to get. That trick won't work on me. I'm asking you one last time. Are you coming back or not? If you don't, I'll replace Mrs. Sterling." I waved my hand indifferently. "Replace her. Whoever wants that trashy title can have it. I have work to do. Close the door on your way out." Jacob sputtered. "Fine. Remember, you're the one walking away. Don't come begging to me later when you regret it. I shouldn't have saved an ingrate like you from drowning in that pool." With that, he turned and slammed the door. My first meeting with Jacob was also at a family banquet. I had just been brought to the Sterling home by grandmother. 2 children cornered me in the yard, mocking me for being a country bumpkin, smelling poor, calling me a wild child with no parents. I had a temper back then. I couldn't stand being called wild, so I tried to fight them, forgetting I was much smaller. In the scuffle, one of the boys pushed me into the pool. I thrashed and screamed for help while they pointed and laughed, calling me a drowning dog. That was when Jacob passed by and saved me. From that day on, I became his little shadow. I watched him have a passionate romance with Isabella. I watched him lock himself in his room for 3 days without food or water after she died. Even though I was just a spectator to their love story, I overestimated myself and agreed to marry him when grandmother asked. I deluded myself into thinking I could replace the moonlight in his heart. But reality taught me that even though I grew up in the Sterling house and married Jacob, I was never a Sterling. Wealthy families are places that eat people alive. After 10 years, my edges were worn down, and I played the role of the envied Mrs. Sterling. The night I escaped, facing a confusing future, I had regretted it too. If I hadn't met Mia, I probably would have gone back the next day to be the superficially glamorous wife. Luckily, the universe still loved me. When I was first homeless, it sent me my life's first light grandmother Sterling. When I was lost facing the future, it sent me the sun Mia. Mia was currently throwing a tantrum beside me. Elena, my good Elena, I don't want to edit today. You do it, please. I refused decisively. Even the sun gets blocked by clouds sometimes. If you don't edit, there's no spicy boiled beef or chili chicken tonight. Just tofu and greens. Mia immediately sat at the computer, muttering, Mrs. Sterling has such a cruel heart. Trying to starve me. I couldn't help but laugh. She suddenly turned to look at me seriously. Elena, do you regret leaving the Sterling family? Going from a life of luxury to running wild with me? I hesitated for a few seconds. Then instead of answering directly, I started telling her the story of me, the family, and Jacob. I thought it would take a long time, but found it could be summed up in a few sentences. After listening, Mia gritted her teeth. Jacob is trash. What does he mean, just a meal? If he dares show up in front of me again, I'll chase him out with a broom. He doesn't love his first love as much as he thinks. Otherwise, why get a canary? He's insulting the concept of love. I nodded in agreement. Although I hadn't dated much, I knew loving someone didn't look like that. The next time I saw Jacob was during our trip to Iceland. An interview of him was trending. A reporter asked, "What is your opinion on the rumor that the popular travel blogger is Mrs. Sterling?" A flicker of surprise crossed Jacob's face. Then he spoke calmly. "It's a little hobby of my wife's. I respect her." Mia asked, "Does he know?" I shook my head. "No. It's just a PR answer." Why would Jacob notice what I was doing? After I rejected him, he probably went home to celebrate with that woman. He always wanted to get rid of me. He had only been keeping his promise to grandmother to take care of me. Jacob was a man who kept his word, which is why he said the position of Mrs. Sterling would only be mine. Elena, it's your turn to edit. After editing, we have language class. Stop looking at that trash man. MIA's voice pulled me back from my thoughts. I shouted back a confirmation and settled down to edit. Instead of wallowing in the past, I'd rather learn a few more phrases for our next journey. After returning from Iceland, Mia told me she secretly submitted my painting Newborn to a competition, and it won second prize. I used to think I had no talent for painting. Back then, I had finished a painting and happily showed it to Jacob. He threw it on the floor. "You want to enter a competition with this level of skill? Why do you have to compete with Isabella in everything? Painting requires talent. Isabella painted better than you with her eyes closed." From then on, I never picked up a brush. Elena, I know you love painting. That piece brings hope and symbolizes the beauty in the world. I thought it was perfect for the contest. Her voice got smaller, and she lowered her head guiltily. She probably thought I would blame her for deciding for me, but she didn't know that what she saw as a mistake brought me new life. Elena, why are you crying? I'll tell the organizers we withdraw. Hearing her panic, I wiped my face and realized I was crying. I shook my head. No, I'm just too happy. I never thought I could win an award. Mia hugged me, whispering comfort. Elena, you are the best. Don't listen to Jacob's garbage. His mouth smells worse than a toilet. You are way better than that, Isabella. Hearing her words, I laughed through my tears. We'll go to the ceremony dressed beautifully and blind as dog eyes. Yes, people who love you always think you are the best. I had been deceiving myself, thinking I could replace Isabella, only to be humiliated. Standing on the podium, looking at Mia grinning wider than me in the audience, I felt an indescribable satisfaction. After the ceremony, as I walked out with the crowd, I saw a back that looked like Jacob's. I shook my head. Just a resemblance. Outside the hall, Mia rushed over. Elena, that was amazing. When you got the award, I heard people around me saying how good your painting was. I couldn't help smiling. People around us were walking out holding brochures excitedly. I heard YY's painting also won a prize. Third place. YY is amazing. I loved her even before she passed away. But I absolutely loved the second place piece. Looking at that painting makes me believe the future is beautiful. YY was Isabella's pseudonym. Mia was right. I wasn't terrible at all. Elena. Jacob's voice suddenly came from behind. I instinctively grabbed MIA's hand and walked faster. but I hadn't taken 2 steps before my arm was grabbed. I turned and looked at him in confusion. "What are you doing here?" Jacob frowned, his voice carrying a trace of imperceptible disdain. "Is this a Sterling property? Is my being here any of your business?" His brow furrowed tighter, like a mountain range. "If this is your way of getting my attention, then congratulations. You succeeded." His words made me want to vomit. I never realized he was this conceited. Just as I was about to retort, Mia stepped forward, hands on her hips, shielding me like a mother hen. "Mr. Sterling, open your eyes and look at the winners list. Elena is here to accept an award. She won second prize in her first competition. Were you blind before?" Jacob's pupils constricted slightly. Then he opened his mouth and said something that deserved a slap. "Elena, did you steal one of Isabella's paintings to enter?" I wasn't surprised that he would say such a thing. I pulled Mia, who was ready to fight him to the death, and said nonchalantly, "Mia, let's go." Jacob stood there, watching my retreating back, and didn't leave for a long time. Jacob's perspective. Jacob watched Elena leave and couldn't snap out of it for a long time. He thought of the painting he just saw at the exhibition. Critics said the gap between this painting and the first place was only a slight technical flaw, but it truly lived up to its name, bringing a hope of new life. One could see the artist's anticipation for the future and severance from the past. The vitality in Newborn was blindingly unforgettable. It was different from the Elena in his memory. In his eyes, her future had been bleak. Previously, Jacob had felt that Elena was the one with cancer, lifeless. But when she first came to the Sterling family, she was like a little firecracker, exploding at the slightest touch. Gradually, outsiders commented that she looked more and more like a Sterling wife, quiet, magnanimous. Jacob hated that submissive look the most, but the Elena he just saw was like a different person. Bright, vibrant, eyes full of light. His gaze involuntarily lingered on her. Jacob was still stuck on his old impression of her. When he heard the author of Newborn was Elena, his first thought was doubt. But he knew stealing was impossible. If this was the current Elena, then keeping her by his side might not be so bad. Jacob thought this way. People like beautiful things. But the way Elena looked at him no longer held that intense love. Perhaps Elena didn't even know that when she faced him. There was a trace of disgust in her eyes. Jacob suddenly felt like he had lost something very important, but he refused to believe it. I saw Jacob again. It was at my doorstep. I was heading out to buy ingredients to make Mia her favorite sweet and sour ribs. Opening the door, I saw Jacob standing by the elevator. In his hand, he held a bouquet of Eustamasmi favorite flowers. "Why are you here?" I stood opposite Jacob, my voice cold. Jacob studied me silently for a moment. "Elena, I'm here to take you home." I lifted my eyelids slightly. "Jacob, I already returned the jade bracelet. We have no relationship anymore." "No relationship. You grew up in the Sterling family. You think a few words can cut ties with me." Jacob pulled a gift box out of the bouquet and opened it. "The bracelet is here. Put it on." I looked down at the bracelet in the box and laughed softly. "Jacob, I made myself very clear the day I left. Can't we end this with some dignity?" A rare stubbornness appeared on Jacob's face. He grabbed my hand. "End it. Impossible. Elena, I sent that woman away. She won't appear again. Put the bracelet on. We'll go register the marriage right now." I pulled my hand from his grip. "Jacob, it's impossible for us now. Leave." I invited him out and slammed the door shut. After that day, Jacob changed tactics. He waited at my door every day, looking like he hadn't slept. Sometimes he brought flowers. Sometimes a gift I had mentioned liking years ago. Mia was afraid I would go back to him, warning me repeatedly. Being soft-hearted toward a man will bring a lifetime of bad luck. I told her to relax. Jacob was now less than a friend to me. But over time, it got annoying. One day, I opened the door and looked at him helplessly. "Jacob, let's talk." Jacob sat opposite me, speaking cautiously. "Elena, come back. Okay, I'll treat you well from now on. I was wrong before. I apologize. You are in my heart. I just didn't know how to express it. And the Sterling house is your home. Do you not want it anymore?" "Oh, he says I'm in his heart. He just can't express it." But he was also the one who told me on our wedding day that his marriage certificate would only ever have Isabella's name. "Jacob, I lived in the Sterling house for 12 years. Did you ever treat me as family for even 1 second? I am very satisfied with my life now. I hope you won't disturb me anymore. My only tie to the Sterling family was grandmother. Now that she was gone, there was no need for me to stay. Jacob's face stiffened, his voice trembling slightly. Elena, I know I was wrong. Can you give me another chance? Isabella is just my past. She won't affect us. I smiled casually. You are now my past, too. So please, don't affect my life. Jacob, keep some dignity for yourself. Jacob was a proud man. He wouldn't let himself be humiliated too much. So that was the last time I saw him. I had no regrets about that relationship. Only a sliver of pity. Rather than calling it a regret, it was an experience without a result, but one that led to something better. For my third trip with Mia, we chose Peru. To see Machu Picchu sitting high in the Andes. To hear the stories of the city closest to the sky. After returning, Mia and I had become top-tier travel vloggers. We got drunk to celebrate. The next day, we groaned through hangovers while editing videos. We discussed setting up a studio like others. But after deliberation, we both rejected the idea. The original intention of this account was just to record our experiences. Everything else was a happy accident. We weren't willing to give up our original intent for profit. Since winning that award, painting became my way of documenting travels. Mia suggested I find a teacher for systematic learning. I refused. This was a hobby. I didn't want it to become pressure. But ironically, that mindset allowed my art to flourish naturally. My paintings gradually gained fame in the industry. When people mentioned my name, it was with praise. Every competition I entered usually resulted in an award and a small stir. Many people wondered how I stayed so full of energy. I looked at Mia and told them seriously, I have a portable power bank by my side that recharges me constantly. If leaving the Sterling family was an impulse, then Mia was the fortune I met after that impulse. Looking up at the girl sitting by the window signing me up for another art contest, I couldn't help but laugh out loud. Hearing me, Mia laughed too, even though she didn't know why. Leaving the Sterling family, leaving Jacob, I found a new life and understood. We are all dandelions. One day we will fly away. There is always a place waiting for you to land, waiting to watch you bloom.